I'll give it to Tom.
Good lady.
He can use it next time.
So, no, it's okay. I'd ask that you stand and say the pledge with us, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tonight's consent agenda consists of the following items. Item A, approve an engagement letter with Van Eidwarden for GASB 67-68 actuarially service for the City of Winsted and Winsted Volunteer Fire Department Relief Association. B, authorize Bolton and Mank Incorporated to submit an application for the Transportation Economic Development Infrastructures Program, TEDI, grant for the approximate cost of $7,000 and share the cost of the application process with McLeod County under the previous agreement. C, authorize the city administrator to approve a quote and execute an agreement with Xcel Energy for the installation of 2 streetlight fixtures on Main Avenue West in the city of Winsted for the amount not to exceed $2,901. D, authorize the city administrator to approve a quote from W.M. Mueller and Sons to complete improvements to the municipal parking lot with parallel parcel identification number PID 21.050.0270 for the amount not to exceed $12,320. E, authorize the city administrator to approve a quote from Farm Right Equipment for the purchase of a skid loader attachment for the Public Works Department for the amount not to exceed $10,996.72, including a trade-in value for the existing equipment. F, authorize the city administrator to execute a proposal for Heartland Security for software upgrades related to the door access control software for Winsted City Hall for an amount not to exceed $3,460. G, approve a reservation for Mills Reserve Park with amplified music events and the use of operation of outdoor food stands on city property August 11, 2021, between the hours of 12 p.m. and 11 p.m. as approved by the Winsted Police Chief, and waive any fees related to these activities. H, adopt Resolution R 21-26 to accept a donation from Casey's General Store in the amount of $100 to be dedicated toward the 2021 Winsted Night Out. I, adopt Resolution R 21-27 to accept the donation of gift cards from the Subway in Winsted in the amount of $200 to be dedicated toward the 2021 Winsted Night Out event. J, adopt Resolution R 21-28, accepting a donation from the Winsted Volunteer Fire Department Relief Association in the amount of $300 to be dedicated to the Winsted holding activities that unite people. What Up organization. K, adopt Resolution R 21-29, accepting a donation from the United Farmers Co-op, UFC, to be dedicated toward the Capital Improvement Fund for the Winsted Fire Department. L, approve a pledge security and Security Bank of Trust Company has purchased for the City of Winsted for the month of June 2021. M, approve the building permit report for the month of June 2021. N, approve the financial report for the month of May 2021. O, approve the claims list for July 28, 2021. That's the consent agenda. Could I have a motion to accept?
Mr.
the
Mayor, I
agenda?
make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
We have a motion to approve. We have a second.
I will second that.
Motion's carried.
All in favor?
Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And
Motion-
I'd like to abstain from item J, Rocky.
Item J,
Thanks, Mike.
okay. Motion carried. No public hearing, no old business. The first item of new business is a contract with LRE Water to complete modeling for the proposed installation of well number 5. Adam?
Sure. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. As part of the 2021 goal-setting process, the City Council directed staff to continue planning for the installation of a new well due to potential capacity issues. So that being said, the next step in the project is to perform groundwater modeling. With that being said, I've asked Josh Eckstein of Bolton Mink to join us this evening to give a brief overview of where we're at from just a well perspective, as well as the proposed project and project cost. Mr. Eckstein?
Thanks, Adam. Yeah, as Mr. Mayor, members of the council, as Adam mentioned, we do currently have 3 wells that are operation here in the city of Winsted. 2 of them are relatively shallow. One is fairly deep in a high capacity well. One of the 2 shallower wells is quite old. It was pre-1960, so it's kind of beyond its useful life. So we're just looking out into the future a little bit and trying to be proactive and what do we need for water capacity moving forward. So like Adam said, there's a number of different steps that have to happen. The first being to kind of look at what does the groundwater modeling show us within the city of Winsted and where we can potentially site a new well. And then from there we can dig a little deeper and maybe do some test drilling and some other things. But the first step is really to look at the model. What does the modeling show us? Where do we have available sites within the city to potentially drill another well? And so that's really what we're looking for. We do have some potential of money that we could look for launches loan type of things, but we wouldn't do that until after we get the site prepared and ready to go. So yeah, that's
Josh, I have a question.
Yep.
Do you, when you talk about modeling, could you explain exactly what that consists of?
they're looking at basically the different types of soil basically beneath the city of Winsted. You're looking at where the clay layers are, where the bedrock layers are, and where the sand veins are. And where those sand veins are, that's where the water will be flowing. So they're kind of like horizontal underneath the city, and different thicknesses kind of represent different amounts of water that we could potentially generate from the well. So we're looking at where the sand veins are thick enough to be able to generate. We're looking at maybe 1,000 gallons a minute potentially from the new well, and that's only in certain places within the city where those show up.
Does this have anything to do with the aquifers finding?
Yeah, yep, that's what it's looking for, where those aquifers are. So the drift would be shallow, a little bit shallower, and you're looking at like a Mount Simon aquifer would be like right around that 1,000 feet or 700 feet, a little bit deeper. So where do we have Mount Simon? Where do we have drift? In which locations throughout town?
Right. Do we know if there's another aquifer below the 1,000-foot level?
That
Or is
would
that
be,
part of it?
That'd be potentially part of this, what we're modeling and what we're studying. Yeah.
Overall, Steve, hopefully on top of what Josh is saying, we have to find the appropriate aquifer or find the aquifer. And also we hope we can find it on city-owned property. So we want to acquire additional property on top of the well, or in addition to the well project itself. And then even better than that, we would have it on city property, as well as being close to the rest of our water infrastructure. So if in the future we come to a point where we have to install a water treatment facility, it's all centrally located and help reduce project costs at that point. Now those are a lot of big wish items, but hopefully we can get those all accomplished.
Yep, that's exactly.
Is there ever a time when you're doing the investigation for the aquafilters that you run across one or two or three and then tag one for future use, or?
I think, well, I mean, the study would be probably, the ground doesn't change too much, so it would be good for us to have in the future, and we could use it the next time around. We might do a little bit of additional investigation, but, what we find today is likely going to be there well into the future.
Okay.
So we'll know where those groundwater sources are down the road.
And that is also one reason why we were comfortable doing this step in the project already, even though we may be a few years away from actually doing a well project, getting this step all the way, because this information will stay pertinent for a substantial amount of time. LRE, the company that's providing us this quote, is pretty special, a very specialized company. There's not many companies that provide this type of work. They provided us a quote last year of $10,000, and already in the last 12 calendar months, it's gone up by $1,200. So that's why, as the price, rather than waiting another 12 months, have the price go up again, let's get this work done at this price. And
Part of this too, isn't it, if we do some of this groundwork now, we set ourselves up for potential grants?
the grant opportunities probably won't be contingent on this work. This work's regarded as needed before we can do any additional work, per se. We have to get this first.
But I mean, it's like a preliminary, so.
Yeah, it is preliminary to any funding application.
That would definitely be the first step in the process to get us going towards that, and then
Yeah.
So this process just tells us where you can find water, correct?
where we think we have a high probability of finding the amount of water we're looking for.
But not the quality.
Right.
The quality we wouldn't know until the next step would be a test.
Right.
Test well.
The next step will be a test well.
Yep.
That'll be the most expensive step.
Yeah.
That'll be a substantial cost, yeah.
Okay, because like one of our wells has some arsenic, correct, that we have to treat for.
Two.
Correct.
Yep.
Is that something that would disqualify it and have us looking for a different area if that were to be found in the test well?
That comes into account of where we would drill the new well, because we wouldn't want to probably drill real close to that one, but we really don't know what we will be pumping until we do the test well.
No, and I get that, but if we find arsenic, is that something that we would? then-
Yeah, we would take that into account and likely move on from that site then if
Yeah,
arsenic is found.
disqualify it.
So arsenic wouldn't be found as part of this groundwater modeling, but as part of the next step during the test well process. Right, and that's the risky, I mean, test wells are required. I mean, we need to do a test well, but the downside is we could drill a test well, which is expensive, and find arsenic or find other issues, and then have to move on from that and go
No, I get
to
it.
plan B.
So then you could leave the information that you find eventually, so that when we're not here, but you're still here, you can go back to that information and know what you're talking about.
Right, yep, when we're potentially need another well in the future, we'll have this information.
Okay. Any other questions? If there are no questions, I'll call for a motion.
I'll make a motion to authorize the city administrator to approve a proposal and execute a quick start contract with LRE Water to complete groundwater modeling for the proposed installation of well number 5 for an amount not to exceed $11,200.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, the next piece of business. A second new business item is to approve a bid from HydroClean LLC for a sanitary sewer CIPP project. Adam?
Sure. Previously, I think it was back in April, the city council authorized Bolton and Mink to establish project specifications and to put a project out for quotes regarding a CIPP project, cured in place pipe project. So that being said, Josh is here to present those dollar amounts and present some additional information on that.
All right, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So this is just, another project and kind of small incremental steps that we've been taking to restore the sewer lines within the city of Winsted. So another project that we've done a few of these in the past. We did receive quotes on July 13th for the work, approximately 2,500 feet of sewer lining. We received a high quote of $95,765 down to a low quote from HydroClean of $73,188. Review of the quotes showed that it was very competitive, about 20% below the engineer's estimate, and about 23% below the high quote from Visu Sewer. With that being said, we do recommend that we award the project to HydroClean in the amount of $73,188. They have shown to be a responsive and responsible contractor in the city of Winsted. And then we did take a look at some potential additional work for your review or discussion tonight. Kind of take advantage of the low quote that we got, or the competitive numbers. We looked at a stretch of sanitary sewer that is flagged for a future project. Actually, the next project that we would do would probably be on the list, George Avenue, and it's adjacent to some of the sewer lining that we're doing with this project, so it's a pretty good candidate. If we would complete that work, it would add an additional $27,800 to the bid price, increasing the total amount to $100,988. So that's just something for consideration.
So how we came with this recommendation here, members of the City Council, the initial project that Baltimore put together for us, based on the recommendations from the Public Works Department on areas, we estimated a project to be approximately $95,000, somewhere in there. Again, the project quotes came back significantly less than that, or dollar per lineal foot. And then on top of that, we had also budgeted a project of about $115,000. So we had some room within our budget to do some additional work. So being as we received such a favorable quote, we thought, let's add the next section of problem area to the project at this lower cost versus waiting a year to do it, which would likely be at a higher dollar per lineal foot cost. So since we've budgeted for it, since we're still near the original engineer's estimate, even while adding footage, that's where we came toward making this recommendation of this additional work.
I have a question for either one of you guys, Josh or Adam. Could you explain to those who might be listening or might be reading this, what cured in place means and what does it prevent? Does it save us money in the long run?
Sure. I'm going to let the engineer, Mr. Eckstein, explain what it is. I just want to state that it's certainly not an exciting infrastructure project. It's not something you can see, because it's below ground. But it is improving our sanitary sewer system. And when a sanitary sewer system fails, for numerous reasons, those are messy projects that nobody enjoys, especially the homeowner. So that's why these updates to our sanitary sewer system are so important. And secondly, it's a very cost-effective way of improving our sanitary sewer system versus having to dig it up and replace asphalt. This is done all below ground without disturbance to the asphalt layer. So that being said, if our engineer can describe exactly what the process is.
I'll add a little bit to that. So the sewer pipe is typically the lowest pipe that we have in our infrastructure system. So it's, 12, 15, 20 feet deep. So you can imagine if we had to excavate this and replace it, with a backhoe, you're going to be replacing the entire street section plus some boulevard plus trees, whatever is there. So that's really the impetus for looking for an alternative, a non-dig reinstatement process, and that's really what this is. And we're trying to do it incrementally instead of big chunks. We're just doing a little bit at a time. We keep our maps up to date on what's been completed and what hasn't been. As far as really what the application is, it's really, if you think about it as like a balloon or a bag that has a thickness to it, about a half-inch thick, and it has a resin inside of it, so it's flexible. And they just take basically like a vacuum and they pull this bag down into the manhole and down into the pipe and put some hydraulic pressure on it, expands it against the wall of the existing sewer pipe, and then they either steam cure it or hot water. They use one of the two to get it hot. It makes the resin basically cure hard to like a PVC. So when it's done, it's just like having a brand new pipe. We design it so that it doesn't need to have any of the hose pipe for structural stability. The hose pipe can be completely deteriorated. The new liner will take over, just like putting in a brand new PVC pipe when it's done. So it's a flexible pipe that goes in the hole and gets steam cured down in the existing pipe, and then they cut off the ends and move on to the next section. So
How long does this type of pipe last?
So when it's done, it's basically a PVC pipe. So you're looking at 80 to 100 years of life of that for that PVC pipe. Yeah.
No, the only time we wouldn't do do something like this is if we've got like a 4-inch in there. and we
Yeah,
need
if the
to-
capacity is too small, then we'd have to go with full replacement. Or is there some issues if it's too offset that we can't do it?
Right, so weaken line takes care of a lot of different things, but a sag, it won't obviously take care of a sag or an offset joint or any place we have a crack or a squished pipe if it's too oval. So that's why we do televising ahead of time, just to make sure that these areas that we say we can line are suitable for lining. And there's always a little bit of a risk when we get there to do the lining if something has happened between when we televised it and now. We might have to dig a spot. We've done that once, I think, where we had to dig down and just repair one little spot before we could line it, but that's usually pretty uncommon.
I think this televising data is relatively new, so there shouldn't be those type of gaps maybe. We do have our Public Works Director here as well, Mr. Meyer. Dave, do you have any comment regarding the areas that are proposed or doing the additional work on George Avenue versus just the base work?
George Avenue is needed. It's one of our problem areas with roots, and this nears it.
That is one of the kind of side benefits to this process, is we're really trying to kind of reinstate the longevity and the life of the sewer so it doesn't collapse and we don't have backups. But the side benefit is that it's one length of pipe without any joints. You know, when they originally installed the pipe, it's got a joint every 5 feet or 10 feet, depending on what kind of pipe they used. This is one long length of pipe with zero joints, so the root intrusion is very minimal, very minimal.
I find it very beneficial when you said that it would be good for about 90 years. And I think that, David, if we have people that question us and we can give them that type of an answer, because I'm sure there's people out there that are going to say, wait a minute, you know, how long is this going to last? Any other questions? Then I'll call for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the initial bid of $73,188 and optional work in the amount of $27,800 from HydroClean LLC for sanitary sewer cured-in-place pipe CIPP lining project in the city of Winston.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The last item under new business is the second quarter city council priorities update. Adam.
Sure. So this evening, as we do once a quarter, I will be providing the city council an update on where we're at with our annual priorities and goals. With that being said, I will provide the city council essentially a reminder and the people at home of how we got to this point, what the process was, and also just an update on a handful of different projects and where we sit with those projects. So again, the 2021 priorities are a year-long, the 2021 priorities are year-long goals designed to advance programs, projects, and services prioritized by the city council. They are consistent with previously adopted plans, motions, resolutions, and ordinances. The priorities are outcome-based and used to measure the success of the projects and the staff. For a priority to be considered, it must be under the direct influence of the city council and the city staff. In January, there were 41 proposed priorities brought in front of the city council. Of those 41 projects, the city council selected 17 to move forward with and implement in 2021. 5 of those 17 projects were carryovers from the previous year. The city staff reports the status of the city council priorities through a traffic light system. The priorities are identified as either green, yellow, red, or red on hold. Ultimately, the goal of the reporting system is to allow the city council to make informed decisions regarding project timelines and resource allocation. So, as of the second quarter in 2021, again, we had 17 priorities that were established. 14 of those priorities are in a green status, as estimated by city staff. 2 of them are in the yellow status, and 1 of them are in the red status. The projects or a handful of the projects that are in the green status that I'll be presenting on this evening. The first one is continued development of the industrial park expansion, including extension of County State Aid Highway 5 through the Winston Industrial Park. The first step in the project is we applied for the local road improvement grant. Unfortunately, to date, we were denied that grant request or that funding opportunity, with the understanding that it could be revisited in the future by MnDOT. So in the meantime, our Q2 milestone was to continue to research and apply for additional funding opportunities for the project. We have done so. We applied for the TEDdy grant through Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development. So with that application, or I guess we're working on an application is a better statement, working on that application. So city staff particularly has been working with local businesses, obtaining employment information and letters of support to strengthen our grant application, in which we're working in conjunction with our city engineer. Project number 2 is to consider programs and strategies to encourage the development of housing options within the city of Winsted. Our Q2 milestone was to improve the marketability of the high-density housing project, or of a high-density housing project here in Winsted. On April 20th, 2021, the City Council did approve a Phase 2 environmental site assessment and asbestos and regulated waste inspection on a preferred location. That environmental study, or those environmental studies, will be used to assist in determining potential demolition costs of, again, that preferred high-density development location. In addition to that, on June 1st, 2021, the City Council approved a comprehensive housing needs analysis, or an update to our previous analysis, and this will be used to assist in marketing a project to developers here in Winsted, as all developers, all interested developers always request information such as comprehensive housing needs analysis. Project number 3 that I'll be presenting on this evening is in regards to the installation of an emergency generator at City Hall to allow for continuous of services during natural disasters. Our second quarter milestone was to actually have the installation of the generator. We are very near meeting that goal. The generator was delivered on July 2nd, 2021, a bit delayed due to constraints out of our control. But again, we received on July 2nd. The contractors were on site the following week. Essentially a pre-installation meeting being done by the contractors, and that occurred on July 8th. Installation is scheduled to occur in the very near future. They didn't give us an exact date, but based on my understanding of the conversation, either in July yet or the very beginning of August. So we are close to realizing the completion of project number 12 with the installation of that generator. We do have a handful of projects, as I stated, that are in a yellow status or a little bit behind schedule, including project number 6 to develop an orderly annexation agreement, agreements to adjust the corporate limits of the city of Winsted in order to ensure proper land use for future growth. Our second quarter milestone was to present orderly annexation information to the Planning and Zoning Commission. To date, city staff continues to research the entire annexation process, more specifically trying to formulate the best plan to present the information both to city and township officials in a way that could be beneficial for both organizations. So we're a bit behind schedule on that, but look to come back to being on schedule here in Q3. Project number 10 was to improve the marketing of the industrial park, including website development, add additional information for site selectors and potential developers. Our second quarter milestone was to gather data and information for website content related to site selectors specifically and potential developers. So our staff has been working on collecting that data. We have researched other sites. We have worked in conjunction a bit with McLeod County and some of their efforts in economic development, as well as some surrounding communities on pertinent information for site selectors. We just have not yet been able to finalize compiling that data and being able to present it to the EDA for their final recommendation. We do anticipate, again, coming back in schedule here in the third quarter. And the last project that is in the red status is to develop an infrastructure maintenance and management plan for the Public Works Department. This is a big project, maybe a little bit bigger undertaking than I estimated, just from a time perspective. Our Q2 goal is to complete the draft plan and review it with the Public Works. That's been a goal or a milestone for numerous quarters now. Unfortunately, due to the status of some other projects that weren't goals necessarily, specifically the airport, our city staff has not been able to finalize this or meet this milestone, but certainly hopes to get that accomplished in the third quarter. So that being said, that is an overview of where we're at from the priorities standpoint. I would certainly entertain any questions, or if I answer any or provide additional detail as requested by the city council.
I was involved when I was on the city council with that, but I don't know how many people out there realize the time and effort that's put into that. Adam, why don't we just briefly tell them when we meet, why we meet, how many people meet, and how we go about getting those answers?
In regarding the priorities establishment?
Yeah.
Sure. So in January, the city council and the city staff, as well as all the city consultants, get together, and we spend an entire day analyzing, as here in 2020, there's 41 different projects that were presented to the city council. We analyze each project in detail, including potential project costs and implications throughout the city, how it will impact the city budget, both in the short term and in the long term. And then the city council then does a choice vote ranking project or vote to determine how we're gonna move forward, what we're gonna move forward with in in that particular year, I should say. So it's a day-long activity, and I think in the past it's maybe even gone multiple days, depending on the content, to analyze what the priorities are of the city council, both in the short term and the long term. Again, looking at the particular year as well as 5 years out.
I just want to mention that it is a day-long project, and there's an awful lot of thought gone into what is taking place here. So be assured that when it is put up on that board that we're going to try and get it done, it is the consensus of the city council and the city administrator and associates to get these things done. So I applaud all of you people for the hard work.
Right, and I certainly would like to applaud the city council as well. For a city the size of Winsted, that type of strategic planning, I think, is somewhat unique, but I think it is also what allows the city council and the city staff to be successful in their ventures and trying to improve and maintain the city of Winsted. So again, thank you, city council, for making those efforts on those days. So.
Anything else anybody would like to add?
I got a question on County Road 5.
Sure.
One of the grants that were put in for was denied.
Correct.
Is that denied until for so long and then reevaluated?
Right. It's the same grant opportunity that we received from McLeod Avenue. When we initially applied for McLeod Avenue, it was denied. But they kept the application, they kept all those applications, and then when MnDOT happened to receive some additional funding through the state legislature. So then they took the previous applications that were denied, and then those are the ones that were first considered for award. And at that point, then we were awarded for McLeod Avenue. So we are told a similar process will take place regarding the most recent applications. Essentially, they're set off to the side. If additional funding comes about for MnDOT, then they will take a look at their previous applicants first prior to reopening it to new applications. So that's where I say it's not completely denied. There's still an opportunity that could be funded if additional funds from the federal government are found elsewhere.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to hear you say it.
Yep.
You wanted to hear us say it. Thank you. All right, we have come to the organizational report, and this evening we're going to speak and listen to a young lady in regards to the Winsted Ambassador Club.
Good evening. As you're all aware, I'm Lisa Bauman on the Ambassador Committee. I've been on the committee since 1998, I believe. Long time.
Did you say 1998?
1998, yes. And still going strong. As you know, the pandemic pretty much put us on a hold. A year ago, we were here with our 3 current ambassadors, the 2019-20, 3 girls. Two had stepped down last summer, as in they didn't want to go for a second year. One stepped down in February, March, because she moved away. not knowing what was going to happen, and when we finally heard things were starting to open up, we opened up our candidacy program. So we are, as you could see, if some people saw, we are back in business. Our float went out for the first time since December 2019. We took it to Waverly. We spent about 4+ hours repairing that because, as you can imagine, it being packed up in a shed, there were lots of unwanted surprises that Kaylin has earned a definite spot in the committee dealing with critters. So we have 3 candidates running. We have our past 3, since they had all stepped down, we're on uncharted waters and how we're going to do everything this year. But we're kind of pivoting through that with having 2 medical people on our committee. We're very particular with what we do for the safety of our girls. So the candidates will attend 4 events by the time our festival comes around, and then we are hoping going forward we'll get to a normal schedule where they will go to about 40-50 events in the year of their reign. Our float major repair is what we're doing right now is we're getting a new tarp put on, and it's running us about $2,000, but we've only had 2 tarps in the course of since 1998. So which I feel we've done a great job maintaining our float. And we have Caitlin Parkanowski representing Winsted this week at Aquatennial, Minneapolis Aquatennial, and that coronation is Saturday. So we wish her the best of luck.
Good.
Any questions for the young lady?
No, you're doing a good job.
Have you found it hard to get interest into this program because of COVID?
I believe that's probably why our numbers are down yet, because girls don't want to know if they want to go out yet, because we don't know what's still going to happen yet this year. I think when we get to a year of normal, it'll spark the interest again.
Okay.
How many girls did you say are running?
3.
3. And you normally have?
Anywhere from 3 to 6. I mean, it's very rare that you have more, but then look at our class sizes. Now, our town promotes school comes first, because a lot of these girls are going to be seniors. So we do not make them miss their sporting events or their arts, plays, things like that, to do a city event. School comes first.
Good.
There's a priority.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Say hi to Rick. Okay, we have come to the open forum. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak to the council, step forward and please state your name and speak loudly. If not, sit down. Adam, any announcements?
Sure. On Friday afternoon, the city of Winston was notified by the Department of Natural Resources that we are now in a state of drought warning phase as designated by the DNR. With that warning phase, they're requesting the city of Winston to implement some water use reduction actions with the goal of reducing water use to 50% above the January levels. So with that being said, we will need to implement some outdoor watering bans, etc., as well as some educational information, or we want to provide some educational information to the residents with the goal of reducing water usage here in Winsted in the short term, essentially. So in the next water billing notification, you'll receive a letter like this, laying out the conditions of the watering ban or reduction in watering request. We will be doing our due diligence to educate as many residents as possible. But ultimately, we will need to start enforcing some water restrictions. I'm not sure how long this watering ban will take place, but again, it is all dictated by the Department of Natural Resources at this point. So with that being said, is there any questions for the City Council regarding this item?
When do you see it taking place, starting?
We are going to be looking to implement these water restrictions in the very near future. Our water bills are scheduled to go out midweek this week, so either Wednesday or Thursday at the latest. We will likely allow 2 or 3 days for it to get in the residents' hands. So as of next week, we will look to start educating and enforcing regarding the reduction of water use. Again, heavy on the education phase of that. Again, there will certainly be some exemptions that will be on, that you would see in the notice regarding if a resident has new sod, for example, where they have to water it because they have money invested in this new sod that needs water, or maybe it's a vegetable garden, or maybe it's new trees. So there are certainly some exceptions that we'll be working through. But again, this is being dictated by the Department of Natural Resources, and it is due to the drought conditions we are in. I will note that as we stand here as a city of Winsted, our capacity has not been impacted yet by the drought, meaning our water infrastructure system is able to meet its requirements. But I think this is somewhat of preventative issue to some degree too, so that we don't come to a point where we aren't able to meet our capacity needs. But again, our capacity is being met, but these regulations are being put in place by the Department of Natural Resources. Any additional questions? Okay, the next item I have is I just want to update the City Council on a couple of events. The Airport Commission meeting, or the airport is scheduled to meet in regular fashion as a scheduled meeting on Monday evening at 5 p.m. In addition to that, we have Winsted Night Out, which is going to take place at the Winsted Fire Hall and put on by the Winsted Police Department. That is on Thursday, August 5th, starting at 6 p.m. So again, another wonderful event here in Winsted, put on by our police department. Look for a lot of participation from our residents. And then later that week is Winsted Summerfest. So we have a handful of events coming up in the very near future. And then lastly, we have the Winstock event hosted here in Winsted the weekend of August 19th and 20th, I believe was the dates on that. So numerous events coming up here in Winsted. So it should be a great opportunity for residents to get out and interact and enjoy the city of Winsted. That's all I have this evening.
Anyone else have anything?
A question on the new trees on McLeod. Are we on a watering scheduling for them, Dave?
Actually got watered today.
Thank you.
Anything else? If not, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a second.
He's stubborn, isn't he? I'll second it.
Why do they do this to me? I'm old and feeble.
They just want to stay here.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Be quiet. Motion, meeting is adjourned. Thank you for everything.
Thank you, everyone.